Here's a follow-up video. I made a video recently, and I'll put a link in here that, or at the end of the video, that was showing you some of the problems you could have if you don't firmly secure your concrete forms and make sure that they're straight. And this is actually the result of what someone needed to do in order to fix it. Now, here's what it looked like before. Concrete was sticking out. And here's what it looked like after. And you can see here, this was a little bit of work. This wasn't something that someone just come in and did in about 15 minutes. I've done this before because I've made these types of mistakes. And you can see here, this is sticking out. And of course, they didn't chip it all the way down. It's not straight. This one's actually curving. You can see it. They just chipped a section away, which just won't be that big of a deal when they pour a concrete porch in here. There'll be a nice slab in here, probably about 2 inches down from the concrete after they stucco it, stuff like that. That won't be that noticeable. Here's a door where they had to, looks like the concrete was sticking out probably about 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch here. Came in and flattened it out. Another one they had to chip out for some plumbing. And then this here has a lip on it. Another view of it. And there's what they had to do. And then, of course, they filled it in. And I don't know what happened here. Maybe when they popped the form off, they broke this, or they had it filled in at one time, but it was just a weak spot. A lot of times when this stuff gets real thin, it might be thicker here where it's going to hold together, but it gets thin here. Sometimes it'll pop out. Someone has to beat on something or tighten a bolt up. I've seen it happen before. Just pop a section of it out, and they'll have to fix that later. Which chipping this stuff off isn't really that big of a deal. Filling in spots like this, it is. I mean, if I go back, you can see there's no rebar in here. That's not good. It'd be nice if they had some rebar coming across here. And they would have had that if they didn't have to chip this out. This would have had probably 1 or 2 bars of rebar, which would have really made a nice connection or added some strength to it this way. Without the rebar here, this is a weak spot in the foundation. Here's something else that happens, and I really don't think it's a good thing when they're using the cement-based mixture to fill in the wavy spots. They will actually fill in gaps. And these gaps need to be there. We need to have gaps. Remember, OSB is not treated material, or at least this stuff isn't here. And there is a gap so that the OSB, when it gets moisture, when it absorbs some moisture, it can expand and then contract back to normal. So it's nice to have a gap. I believe it's 1/8 of an inch. It's probably more like 1/4 of an inch, but once you fill it in with the mortar, then you're creating 2 problems. The one problem is that the OSB, and if this is plywood, it would be the same thing. It can't expand. And this also provides another avenue for moisture that gets absorbed into the foundation to work its way up into the wood. And I would imagine this isn't that big of a deal. It's down here because plywood or OSB is going to absorb moisture just like the cement-based mortar. So I don't really think getting the mortar on the plywood is that big of a deal, but filling the gap in might be.